Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're unboxing this awesome Sceptre monitor. And as always, if at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. I do got you guys, but let's get this thing unboxed. Now, I don't think we've ever seen a monitor quite like this one before, and especially at this price point. So I think it's a VA panel. I think it has super high brightness, and I think it's a 1000R curve, which it is, which means this is gonna be a direct competitor to the Samsung Odyssey G5, but it's a whole lot brighter. I think maybe a little bit more expensive, but this could be an absolutely amazing monitor for immersion. I haven't been this excited about a monitor that costs this much money in quite a while. Okay, so it opens from the top here. Sceptre always has really good packaging. So we're gonna lay this thing down and just pull it right out. Okay, now this is an all white monitor. We've got the actual height adjustable stand part here. Very interesting, it is a lock-in, which is really nice. I don't know if I've ever seen a lock-in on a Sceptre monitor before. We then have what looks like a VESA mount. They've done this on a lot of their monitors recently, so it's actually not VESA mountable as soon as you get it, but you gotta put a plate on there, which I don't really mind. And then we have the power brick, which looks very similar to LG, and I love that it's all white. That's super cool. Now as well, you get the manual, you get a screwdriver from Sceptre, which I absolutely love. You get white power cords, really like that, and you get a white DisplayPort cable. That's awesome. I love that they're keeping with the white. Honestly, pretty impressed so far. Then here we got the stand, again in all white. This is all solid piece of metal right here. Let's get the stand put together. All you gotta do is put it on there. This is a high quality thumb screw. You can just screw it right in there. A minimalistic stand, a little bit thin, but it does look like you're gonna be able to hide the cables because this is thick enough still to be able to hide cables. A little bit more work, but not like that Eve Spectrum that I just reviewed, which was absolutely terrible with that. You couldn't hide it. Nice and gloss black back there. Wow, really cool. Okay, now let's get to the actual monitor right there. And wow, yeah, it looks very similar to the Odyssey G5. Now, one of my favorite things about lock-on stands is that all you have to do when you get them is you just go like that, you get your stand, super easy to set up. You just snap it in like that and they're ready to go. Wow. This actually looks really, really good. Taking the plastic off, wow, really nice looking. It looks like we have some back RGB there. I'm not really a big fan of that. I don't really care about that much, but it does look really nice from the back, quite curved, as it is a 1000R curve. You got the DC in 3 HDMI ports, which is nuts. You got a DisplayPort, a USB-C. We are gonna have to check if that's display or if that's just charging, but I have a feeling it's probably gonna be display, which is awesome. Then you also have a USB Type A port and a 3.5mm audio out. Wow, what an interesting amount of ports, and like 3 HDMIs and then a USB-C. Very cool. All right, the front is all in plastic. I'm really digging the white. The white looks awesome. Now, I think the name of this is the Nebula, but again, we got that really sharp 1000R curve, much more curved than a typical like 1500R curve. Now, this got display HDR 1000, which basically means this can go up to a peak brightness of at least 1000 nits, which is crazy. That's insane. You compare that to like the Odyssey G5, which could only go up to 250. This is literally doing 4 times that. 165 hertz, 1440p resolution. But I'm gonna get this hooked up and then we're gonna get the first initial gaming impressions and we're gonna do a ghosting test. All right guys, now it's all plugged in. We got it hooked up to the PC. Now let's turn this on. I actually did see that Sceptre listened to me. I don't know if they did, but they did add the exact thing that I was asking for. Now the menu system is one little toggle switch on the bottom, which is what I have literally been saying. So maybe I changed that, maybe I didn't. Let's turn this thing on. There we go, Sceptre up there. Now there's a bunch of bright lights in the room, so this may look dim, although it is 1000 nits of peak brightness, which is pretty crazy. All right guys, now that it's all booted up, one thing that I don't really particularly like is I actually love these white bezels. I think they're cool. The bezels are pretty thick by modern standards. However, there's a little bit of black and it's actually uneven. Like it's thinner right there, it's thicker right here, and with the white, it looks weird. I wish that the white bezel would have completely filled up the bezels. It would have looked way better than this. However, it doesn't look bad at all, and it looks kind of cool and like kind of retro futuristic. I kind of like it. But yeah, in NVIDIA control panel, we have it at 165 hertz, 1440p. Let's see if this thing can output 10 bits of color, and it can, so it probably is an 8-bit plus FRC or frame rate control monitor, which is pretty cool. Okay, now let's go into the system. So it's the same system as before, but it is way better to use because of the little joystick. So let's go into system, overdrive is on medium. We can just leave it in that. Adaptive sync, we're gonna wanna turn that on. HDR is off, ambient light sensor, we don't want that. The back cover light, so there is RGB on the back it looks like. Yeah, it's not super bright, but it is there. And I didn't really get the whole RGB on the back of the monitor thing because it never shines bright enough. All right, but let's go through it. Let's go to the quick start. You got volume. I'm pretty sure this does have integrated speakers, which is pretty cool. Picture mode, we got RTS, FPS, Eco, Movie, User, which we're gonna wanna keep that in User, and then go up there and turn the brightness all the way up to 100%. And this thing gets bright, especially with all of these lights in here. This thing is definitely a bright monitor, a very bright monitor. Again, this curve, absolutely awesome. This is the kind of curve when you get it, you're gonna wanna keep it a little bit closer to you than your other typical monitors, just because you wanna get that immersion a little bit more. Now, let's see the stand. It does have swivel, height adjustability, and looks like no rotation, but it does have tilt. Quite nice tilt, actually, very easy to tilt. But let's launch in game in Warzone and see how this thing games. All right, guys, dropping in. Initial impressions of the speakers actually are quite good. Way better than I was expecting. Obviously, it's a smooth 165 hertz. Very smooth, very bright, very vibrant. The curve is fantastic. It's very immersive. You definitely feel like you're in it. You kind of feel like you want it a little bit closer. Obviously, I think this would also be a fantastic monitor for, honestly, for sim racing. If you got a triple monitor setup of this, yeah, this curve, super immersive. Now, I will say, it doesn't look like we're getting that much ghosting. Now, I am gonna go into a dark location because a lot of times in dark locations, you can have different kind of ghosting, like red and green ghosting. If you look at this dark spot, we're not really seeing any there. So that's pretty cool. We're definitely gonna see more in depth with the actual ghosting test to really see exactly how much ghosting is going on. Because obviously with a VA panel, you're gonna have some ghosting. You're gonna have some washing out when you go from side to side, but overall it's looking pretty promising. Now I was kind of worried about these black and white bezels, and when you're actually looking at the monitor overall, you definitely see them, but when you're in game, they kind of just fade away. And I'm a big guy with bezels. I don't really like thick bezels. So if it doesn't bother me, I wouldn't say it's that big of an issue. But yeah, I mean, quite bright. I just came from the Eve Spectrum, which is a 750 nit panel and high resolution, high brightness. I would say the brightness is very similar. This might be a little bit brighter. Once you get over 750 nits, once you really get over 600 nits, pretty hard to see a difference unless you're having them side by side. But obviously it is incredibly bright. Now the black levels, because it's a VA panel, quite good, really fantastic, really fantastic. Obviously just coming from a IPS, nano IPS, $900 4K, 144 hertz monitor. This is not that big of a change. Obviously resolution takes a hit a little bit, but not as noticeable in game, which is always what I have thought with 27-inch monitors. All right, guys, now that we did the gaming performance, I'm actually quite impressed with this monitor. I don't remember exactly how much this monitor is, but it's very impressive, especially if you want an immersive panel that has good brightness, because really you just had the G5, especially if you wanted a 27-inch super curved monitor, but now this one way better. I mean, just a whole nother level better. Now, another thing is VA panels typically wash out when you go side to side. We definitely get some washing out, but not even close to as much as typical VA panels. I'm actually pretty impressed. I mean, this thing really doesn't start washing out till about here, and then it doesn't really wash out that much more, where that's just VA panels for you. But a lot of VA panels, some of them, you just go a little bit to the right or left, it gets pretty bad. But let's go over the ghosting. Okay, all synced up. There's definitely some noticeable ghosting, not very bad, especially for a VA panel. I've seen a lot of VA panels with really bad ghosting. It's definitely there, but it's not that bad. Now we're gonna go over to the response time settings and see how much it'll change it or if it'll cause pixel overshooting. We're gonna go over to high, which, wow, it cuts down the ghosting quite a bit. Now, it's kind of tough. I'm not seeing pixel overshooting on high, but there's some stuff going on. So I think the best thing to leave it in would definitely be medium. And yeah, definitely a very livable amount of ghosting, on par with that Dell monitor that I reviewed, the 27-inch Dell VA panel. That one had not very bad ghosting at all. This one is very similar to that. But yeah, overall, from the initial impressions, this thing looks absolutely awesome. Again, if you want to check it out, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links below. I do got you guys. But if you want to check out the full review, I'll probably have it in a week or so. So definitely consider subscribing below. And thank you guys for 4,000 subs. Such an awesome milestone. I know we're hitting 5,000 soon. That is a huge milestone, especially for this channel. I only started in March, so that's really awesome. But if you guys enjoyed this video and it helped you out, help me out and throw a like below. And if you enjoy other monitor reviews, monitor content, monitor unboxings, I do a ton of that. So please consider subscribing below. But this was Type C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.